For the next few hours, the smoke jumpers who had landed in Man Gulch passed from human remembrance perhaps as completely as they ever will. There were only 5 known to be alive at that moment, 2 of these soon to die, one with a name that began with S. Although Hellman had made it over the top of the ridge, he was despairing and smelling of burned flesh, and was praying with Rumsey, who had been left to take care of him. They both had let their church attendance lapse and could not remember their prayers. So, in embarrassment, they prayed silently. From their position near the top of the ridge, they could see, when the smoke opened, reflections of the fire in the Missouri River below, and Hellman had to be told again and again that he could not run to the river and immerse himself. Dodge had left his can of white potatoes with Hellman because Rumsey would be there to feed him. But instead of eating the potatoes, Hellman drank the salt water in the can and further inflamed his thirst. For Dodge and Sallee, on their way to the river, it was a never land in the night and the smoke, and without a map or compass, both were near exhaustion and shock when they reached the river, and going downstream, which was easier for the water, also seemed to be easier for them. A boat passed that did not see them, then turned and went back upstream, and on this slight evidence, they turned around too. They didn't know much about the world anymore, not even whether it was up or down. Among other things, there were 11 of the crew they didn't know anything about. The missing were probably in a world 100 by 300 yards, the world between the boy with a canteen of water and no hands to lift it, and Hellman on the other side of the ridge, who was looking for forgotten prayers. The 2 top men in the Helena National Forest, Supervisor Moore and Assistant Supervisor Eaton, had left Meriwether in haste for the fire at York because they and Jansen had agreed it was probably the more important than Man Gulch fire. They had left in special haste because they could not reestablish radio contact with the crew on the York fire to determine its extent and the psychological stability of the crew that was fighting it. Matters got no more composed after they left when Jansen found out that the receiver of the radio at York had been dropped and broken by a hysterical volunteer sobbing for help. Both men and equipment were breaking.